Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, Text number 15. Kaha enam atra upajuhava jihmam dasayaha sutam yat balina eva pushtaha tasmin pratipaha parakritya आस्ते निर्वास्यताम निर्वास्यताम आशु पुरात श्वसानः कएनम अत्रोपहजा was it कएनम अत्रोपहजावजिह्मम okay कएनम अत्रोपजुहावजिह्मम दास्यः सुतं यद्बलिनैव पुष्टः तस्मिन् प्रतीपः परकृत्य आस्ते निर्वास्यताम् आशुपुराच्छ्वसानः कएनमत्रोपजुहावजिह्मम् दास्य सुतं यद्बलिनैव पुष्टः तस्मिन् प्रतीपः परकृत्य आस्ते निर्वास्यताम् आशुपुराच्छ्वसानः कएनमत्रोपजुहावजिह्मम् दास्या सुतं यद्बलिनैव पुष्टः तस्मिन् प्रतीपः परकृत्य आस्ते निर्वास्यताम् आशुपुराच्छ्वसानः Mataji, please. Inamatro pachuhavajihmam dasya sutam yad balinaiva pushtaha tasmin pratipa parakritya aste Kaha, who, enam, this, atra, here, upajuhava, called for, chihmam, crooked, dasyaha, a kept mistress, sutam, son, yet, whose, balina, by whose subsistence, eva, certainly, pushtaha, grown up, tasmin, unto him, pratipaha, enmity, parakritya, enemy's interest, aste, situated, nirvasyatam, get him out, ashu, immediately, purat, from the palace, shvasanaha, let him breathe only. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Who has asked him to come here? This son of a kept mistress. He is so crooked that he spies in the interest of the enemy against those on whose support he has grown up. Toss him out of the palace immediately and leave him with only his breath. Purport. When getting married, the Kshatriya kings would take on several other youthful girls along with the married princess. These girl attendants of the king were known as dasis or attendant mistresses. By intimate association with the king, the dasis would get sons. Such sons were called dasi putras. They had no claim to a royal position, but they would get maintenance and other facilities just like princess. Vidura was the son of such a dasi, and he was thus not counted amongst the Kshatriyas. King Dhritarashtra was very affectionate toward his younger Dasiputra brother, Vidura. And Vidura was a great friend and philosophical advisor to Dhritarashtra. Duryodhana knew very well that Vidura was a great soul and well-wisher, but unfortunately, he used strong words to hurt his innocent uncle. Duryodhana not only attacked Vidura's birth, but also called him an infidel because he seemed to support the cause of Yudhishthir, whom Duryodhana considered his enemy. He desired that Vidura be immediately put out of the palace and deprived of all his possessions. If possible, he would have liked him caned until he was left with nothing but his breath. He charged that Vidura was a spy of the Pandavas because he advised King Dhritarashtra in their favor. Such is the situation of palace life and the intricacies of diplomacy that even a faultless person like Vidura could be charged with something abominable and punished. Vidura was struck with wonder at such unexpected behavior from his nephew Duryodhana, and before anything actually happened, he decided to leave the palace for good. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tafadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishamamsha Shri Rupam Sakajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishamebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminati Namine Harijana Gana Badi Gnana Karmanda Hari Prakatita Para Bhaktir Bhakti Siddhanta Kantihi Vinaya Nikara Lakshmir Nimna Mede Ragamyo Bhuvijayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindra Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Deshatarine Vagishaya Shivadne Lakshmi Yasya Shivakshisi Yasyasya Hridaya Samvitam Nrsimhamaham Bhaje Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're Mukam Kaiti Vachalam Pangam Langaiti Giram Yet Kripatamaham Mande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Yasya Devi Parabhaktir Yata Devi Tada Guru Tasyati Katita Hyata Prakashante Mahatmanaha. So we're reading the section, the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Vidura is chastised for no fault of his. And Duryodhana is exposing himself to be the biggest fool of all times. That's why we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Prakriti Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvashaha Ahankara Vimudhatma Karta Hamiti Manyate. When a person is a Vimudha, when a person is a complete fool, he thinks Ahankara Vimudhatma, when he becomes a big fool under the influence of false ego and false prestige. They become a big fool, Ahankara Karta Hamiti Manyate. They think that themselves to be the doer. And when they think themselves to be the doer, then they get attached to that ego. And when you're really attached to your ego, then naturally you're attached to your bodily conception of life. We have the false ego, which is basically our false identity. We identify ourselves as this, that, or the other thing, depending upon our false ego, depending on our ahankar, depending on our identity. So here, Duryodhana is identifying himself to be the rightful heir to the throne. And because he thinks like this, because he's thinking like this, he is kept in illusion. He does not understand and does not see. Everyone agrees that Yudhishthira is actually he's the rightful heir to the throne. But, although he had no claim to the royal position, still, he made the claim. He wanted to push it by hook or crook, try to be the controller as much as possible. So we can see this so many times, that when a person tries to falsely control everything in the material world, then the laws of nature will act upon him in a way that is not good for him. And right now, sometimes it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen right away. We see that sometimes, we see that even, Krishna let Hiranyakashipu do his thing for such a long time. Krishna let Ravana do his thing for such a long time. And in the meantime, they're simply burning their pious credits, and even worse, committing Vaishnava Aparadh. So over here is exactly what Duryodhana did by insulting Vidura. His desire was that he caned. He be caned and be left with nothing but his breath. That was his desire. That's how, although Vidura was faultless and Duryodhana knew this, just because he couldn't hear something undesirable, he became so angry. Dambo darpo vimanasya krodha parishyam evacha. Dambo darpo vimanasya krodha parishyam evacha. Daiva visharata prokta asuram patameshrino. That, Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, text number, text number 4. Krishna says over here that, pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance, these qualities belong to those of demoniac quality. Ajnanam chavichatasya partha sampadam asurim. That in this purport, Srila Prabhupada describes, in this verse, the road to hell is described. The demoniac want to make a show of religion and advancement in spiritual science, although they do not follow the principles. They are always arrogant or proud and possessing some type of education or so much wealth. They desire to be worshipped by others and demand respectability, although they do not command respect. Over trifles, that's how you say it? Over trifles, they become very angry and speak harshly, not gently. They do not know what should be done and what should not be done. They do everything whimsically according to their own desire, and they do not recognize any authority. The demoniac qualities are taken on by them from the beginning of their bodies in the wombs of their mother. As they grow, they manifest all these inauspicious qualities. So every line of this purport is very much relating to Duryodhana here. Every line of this purport. That, he's on the royal road to hell, performing all kinds of activities, and more than anything, being inimical to the Vaishnavas. He's being inimical to the Vaishnavas. And he of course, Duryodhana always makes a show of religion. He made such a big show. He would, worship so many seniors. Even when Krishna came into the court, he worships Krishna and does this and that. And he performs so many yajnas and does this and that. But it's all simply in name only. Ijante nama yajna. Krishna says this again in the same chapter. In 16-17. Atma sambhavita sabda dhana mana madanvita yajante nama yajnaiste dambe na vidhi purvakam. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only, without following any rules and regulations. Thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority of scripture, the demoniacs sometimes perform so-called religious or sacrificial rites. And since they do not believe in any authority, they're very impudent. This is due to illusion caused by accumulating some wealth and false prestige. Sometimes the demons take up the role of preacher and mislead people and become known as religious reformers. Anyway, but we can see this, over here, Duryodhana is doing the same thing. He's trying to somehow or the other usurp something which is not his. It's something, somehow or the other, he's trying to do this. And by doing so, he even considered two great Vaishnavas. Yudhishthira, if we read in Bhagavatam, Ajata Shatru, he has no enemy. Yudhishthira has no enemy. But still, they're looking at him, he's looking at Yudhishthira and Vidura as enemies, as sworn enemies. And because of doing so, he charged him with all such false claims as being a spy of the Pandavas, as being a person who is a traitor. But in reality, he's just speaking the truth. We can even see this, that we've been listening to an amazing seminar by Vishnuchitra Prabhu about, the cardinal teachings of the Ramayana. And we can see that over there, even Vibhishana went through the same thing. The exact same thing happened to Vibhishana also. Even Vibhishana was asked to, he was chastised like anything by Ravana and Indrajit. And he was just like, I'm done, I'm leaving. Exactly what Vidura also does. Because a Vaishnava understands what is the ultimate dharma. Savai pumsam paro dharma yato dharmo yato bhaktira dokshije ahaitukya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. They understand this. They understand what actually is the ultimate dharma. The primary occupation of all living entities is to have unmotivated and uninterrupted loving devotional service unto Krishna. That is the primary occupation of all living entities. Whereas the secondary occupation of the living entities may be depending upon their guna and karma. But your primary occupation is to please Krishna. That is the primary occupation. So, those who are intelligent, those who are godly, those who are devotees of Krishna, they know when to renounce their activities. That, it's not like, see, everyone knew right off the bat that, okay, Duryodhana is bad news. Vidura actually advised Dhritarashtra, you see, the minute your son is born, the son, all kinds of inauspicious things are happening. Better you kill him. Better you kill your son right off the bat. Vidura told him. Markandeya Rishi came, tried to somehow change the mind of Duryodhana. Nothing. So many, Krishna himself, but he didn't change. Then Dhritarashtra was told, why don't you imprison this Duryodhana? Imprison Duryodhana, Shakuni, Karna, Dushasana, imprison all these people and save the entire Kshatriya race. Dhritarashtra didn't listen, too much attachment. So we see this over here, that yes, okay, Vidura was a Dasi Putra, alright, he was a Dasi Putra, but you're sleeping, can you stand up please? Vidura is a Dasi Putra, so whose son is he? Okay, he's a Dasi Putra, but whose son is Vidura? Vyasadev's son. It's not like, some ordinary conditioned soul got lusty and then like his queen was on her period and he went and had sex with his maidservant. It's not like that. Vidura's father is Vyasadev. Vyasadev is his father. Can you not? He's attacking his birth, calling him a Dasi Putra. But who is his father? Who is his father? Not caring about the histories mentioned in the Puranas. Not caring of the histories mentioned in the Itihasas. Simply like this. Did Narada Muni appear to have a great birth in his past life? We all know. If we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni was also a son of a maidservant, but he's Acharya. Vidura also the son of a maidservant, but he's also Acharya. But those who have a particular motivation in hand, like for example, they do not objectively study scripture. They do not objectively study scripture. And because they do not objectively study scripture, they first come to a conclusion and they say, I want this conclusion to come out of scripture. Can you twist scripture in this way or that way to, prove my point? And there's so many people who try to do like this. Firstly, everyone decides, they do not like the personal conception of God. So then they make it, okay, let's twist scripture like this, let's twist scripture like that. Because living entities are demoniac by nature. So even over here, he's not caring. He's not caring, okay. Vidura was the son of such a dasi, and he was not considered among the Kshatriyas. But then again, to be an advisor of the emperor of the whole world, you don't put like some loafer on the street as your advisor. How qualified should Vidura be to be the advisor of Dhritarashtra? How much Vedic knowledge should he have? How much knowledge should he have? Always absorbed in scripture. Never into politics, never doing all these things. Only always speaking the truth. Always speaking the truth. So those who are too attached to untruth, they like to somehow or the other remove the association of people who speak the truth. So this is cancel culture in Dwapara Yuga. So you can see Duryodhana is trying to cancel Vidura. Duryodhana is trying to cancel Vidura. And if it was his desire that he also canceled Bhishma and Drona, but if he did that, then how he wouldn't be able to win the war. So always scheming, always doing politics, always doing stuff like this. And because he's doing stuff like this, there are going to be major blunders. Major blunders. Why? Because people are going against the verdict of Shastra. What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Yashastra vidamutsrijya vartate kamakarata nasa siddhim avapnoti nasukam na param gatim. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya akarya vyavasito gnatva shastravatanoktam karma kartum iharhasi. Krishna says, 1623 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, he who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection or happiness, nor the supreme destination. This is a very important point. And then 1623. So in the purport, Prabhupada said, described before, the Shastra Vidhi, or the direction of Shastra, is given to the different castes and orders of society. Everyone is expected to follow these rules and regulations. If one does not follow them and acts whimsically according to his lust, greed, and desire, then he will never be perfect in his life. In other words, a man may theoretically know all these things, but if he does not apply them in his own life, then he is known to be the lowest of mankind. In the human form of life, a living entity is expected to be sane and to follow the regulations given for elevating his life to the highest platform. But if he does not follow them, then he degrades himself. But even if he follows the rules and regulations and moral principles, ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding the supreme law, then all his knowledge becomes spoiled. Even if he accepts the existence of God, if he does not engage himself in the service of the Lord, his attempts are spoiled. So this is very important. And then the next paragraph, Prabhupada says, the word kamakarta, kamakarataha, is very significant. A person who knowingly violates the rules acts in lust. He knows that it is forbidden, but still he acts. Prabhupada is saying the same thing in this purport. Although he knew that Vidura is pointless, Duryodhana is trying to cancel him, kill him basically, or cane him, leave him with his breath. Such persons, this is called acting whimsically. He knows that this should not be done. He knows that this should be done, but still he does not do it. Therefore, he is called whimsical. Such persons are destined to be condemned by the Supreme Lord. Such persons cannot have the perfection which is meant for human life. The human life is meant especially for purifying one's existence. And one who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify himself, nor can he attain the real stage of happiness. So we can see this over here. That, Duryodhana is doing this. Although he knows Vidura is faultless, he is going ahead and doing these kinds of forbidden activities. Why? Acting only out of lust. It is lust only, O Arjuna, Krishna says. Vidyena miha vairina. Is like kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidyena miha vairina. That is lust only, O Arjuna, who is our eternal enemy. And how do we learn to curb lust? How do we learn to curb lust? We learn to curb lust by following authorities, by following the Vedic authority especially. Because over here, it's a simple example that, you may know that the kitchen in the cook, the kitchen is, the cook in the kitchen is making like some samosas or something like that, okay? The cook in the kitchen is making samosas, and you know that the cook is making samosas, and you also know that the chutney is already ready. And if you were to act on the basis of your lust, then immediately you could have gone inside. You can go inside the kitchen, take that samosa, take the chutney, and eat it before it's offered to Krishna. That's bhoga. But because you're trained to act on the verdict of Shastra, because you're trained to act on the verdict of Scripture, you know that we only take whatever is being made in the kitchen only after it's offered to Krishna. And if by accident you were to eat bhoga, then what do? We fast. At least for the whole day, if not more. We fast. Why do we do like this? Because we're trying to regulate ourselves on the basis of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, then we are able to curb our lust. We may have been a lusty dog before we came to Krishna consciousness. But by following the rules and regulations based on Shastra, by following the rules and regulations based on by Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and Aitihya, by following these regulations, then we actually eventually, slowly but surely, become freed from the pangs of lust, from the pangs of hankering. Before we may want to have as much association with the opposite sex in an illicit fashion as possible. But once one comes into proper association, once one comes into following the authorities, once one starts to follow the injunctions laid down in Shastra, then they will definitely not want to have any kind of illicit relationship with the opposite sex. And some may not want to have it at all. How is this possible? It is possible by following the injunctions laid down by Shastra. Why? Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Why? Because all the injunctions are coming from Krishna. All this dharma, all these things are coming from what Krishna desires it to be. And because such a thing is there, because such a thing is happening, then, a person naturally gets rid of this alien contamination. All this lust, anger, greed, hankering, all these things are alien to us. It actually has nothing to do with who we are. Our false prestige, our ego, all these things, it's not who we are. Nitya siddha Krishna prema sadhya kabuna shravanadi shuddha chitte korayota. That Nitya siddha Krishna prema, we already have all these great qualities. We already are spirit soul. We're servants of Krishna. We're servants of Krishna. All we need to do, shravanadi shuddha chitte. We need to hear from the bona fide source. And we hear from the bona fide source, then we'll be purified. But if you want to cancel the bona fide source, throw him out and try to cane him, and just almost that, and just leave him with his breath, then you will definitely not be purified. That's what Duryodhana is doing here. He wants it to be done like this. Ishvaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. He's thinking of himself to be the Ishvara. Ishvaroham, thinking of himself to be the Ishvara. Aham bhogi, the enjoyer. Siddhoham, thinking himself to be perfect. Balavan, thinking himself to be very strong. Ishvaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. What's that? Aso maya hata shatru hanishyecha paranapi. Ishvaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. He thinks, and it says in the Bhagavad Gita, that chapter 16 again, this chapter is very pertinent to this verse here. It is, verse number 13 to 15. Idam adhyam maya labdam imam prapsya manoratam. Idam asti dadati me bhavishyati punardanam. Aso maya hata shatur hanishyecha paranapi. Ishvaroham aham bhogi siddhoham balavan sukhi. Adhyopi janavan asmi. Konyo stita sadrisho maya. Yakshe dasyam mimodishya itya jnana vimohitaha. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth I have today, and I will gain more according to my schemes. So much is mine now, it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I am the richest man surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and as happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifice, I shall give some charity, and thus I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. So we can see this Duryodhana is doing the same thing. He's doing the same thing. And he wants to kill all his enemies. That's why it's always good to be in the association of devotees. Why? Satam prasangan mamavirya samvido bhavanti hit karna rasayana kataha tajyoshanadhyasha pavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishyati. When you're in the association of devotees, satam prasangan mamavirya samvido, and listen to the glorification of Krishna, glorification of Krishna's devotees. Bhavanti hit karna rasayana kataha. That within you're injected with the hit karna, bhavanti hit karna rasayana, the rasayana, with the tonic. If you're already favorable to Krishna consciousness, or medicine if you're unfavorable to Krishna consciousness, rasayana kataha. Listen to this beautiful Hari Katha. And then Tajyoshanadhyasha apavarga vartmani. And then we're freed from the pavarga. Pa pa ba ba ma. From Fena, from all these things, from Bhaya, from Mrityu. We're freed from all these things. From all these things. We're freed from these things. But when you try to ban such a person, when you try to get rid of such a person completely, when you try to get rid of such a person completely, then what hope do you have? Our only hope in this life is association of devotees. But you can just see, Prabhupada writes over here. Where's that? He says that Vidura, where's it? Does he put it? Duryodhana knew very well that Vidura was a great soul and well-wisher. But unfortunately, he used strong words to hurt his innocent uncle. He already knew that Vidura was a great soul. He already knew Vidura was a well-wisher. But still, he used such harsh words to simply hurt his innocent uncle. This is what happens when we become too proud. We use harsh words to hurt innocent people. Then the words become actions. And when we actually do that, then it's so bad. Innocent people just hurting. For no reason. That's the nature of a snake. Nature of a scorpion. You may just not even come in the way of the snake. The snake will come out of its way to bite you. For no reason. That's the nature of envious living entities. What did we ever do to the bed bugs in New York? What did we ever do to the bed bugs in New York? Nothing. But still, out of nowhere they come and they bite the heck out of you, not let you sleep at night. So this stuff goes on. I remember once there was a person in the brahmachari ashram, and then he said, "Oh man, I'm so fried out with all the brahmacharis here. I hope in my next life I become a bed bug and bite them." He lost his mind after that. Yeah. We met him actually in Tampa. When we first went to, lost his mind, right? He was a little different. He was just a little different. He of course had all these things before, but he became worse after that. After that, he just, because so many people were way crazier than him. So many people, so many devotees who joined, especially in Prabhupada, were way crazier than this person, taking so much more intoxication than him. But then the process of Krishna consciousness purified them to such a degree that they completely transformed. For example, this devotee is there, Vaishnavananda Prabhu. In the Jumna Maharaj, recalls the story as to how it was in France, right? So this happened in France. This pastime of Srila Prabhupada happened in France, where Prabhupada would go on morning walks often in a park, and there was a bush, and in that bush there was this really nasty person, really really nasty, completely had all this dirt and completely drugged out. And every time he would see Prabhupada, he would try to come close to Prabhupada, and the devotees would always shoo him away. And then, one time Prabhupada went on a morning walk, and Indrajumna Maharaj was with Srila Prabhupada, and he closed the temple room door, and all the devotees went on morning walk. But then when they came back from the morning walk, they saw that the door was open. And then they thought it was very suspicious, why is this door open? And then, out of nowhere, Pigpen was there. And Pigpen, they called him Pigpen, this person, I don't know what exactly that means. What does that mean? Someone who lives... Oh, I see. Okay. Pigpen. Okay. So, so Pigpen was there, and then he immediately, when he saw Srila Prabhupada, he fell at Srila Prabhupada's feet and said, "Save me." So all the devotees were trying to get him, and Prabhupada said, "No, stop, leave him." And then Prabhupada kept his lotus hand on his head, for a minute, and he said, "Don't worry, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's okay." And then, and then Prabhupada told the devotees, okay, clean him up, shave him up. So then the devotees took Pigpen upstairs, completely cleaned him, shaved his head, put on tilak, put a dhoti on him, and he came down and he was in Prabhupada's class, and he was completely drugged out, completely like that, completely gone in Prabhupada's class. And then many devotees were like, "Oh, we should ask him to leave." And some devotees were like, "No, we can't ask him to leave because Prabhupada wants him to stay." So then Pigpen continued to stay. And then, He couldn't even speak. So like, but somehow the other he was engaged in like cleaning the pots and cleaning the dishes, and then he became very dear to the Vaishnava, performing all these menial services. All the devotees were very kind to him. And although he couldn't speak, then slowly he said, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. He couldn't chant. But then he started chanting. Eventually, he got purified, started chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then, and then he was chanting, and then it was time for Indrajuna Maharaj to leave, to go on Sankirtan. So then, like, Indrajuna Maharaj comes into his van, and then next to him on the passenger seat, he sees Pig Pen, and he's chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He said, Pig Pen, what are you doing here, He said, I want to go on Sankirtan. He said, no, Pig Pen, there's so much cleaning that needs to get done. No, I want to go on Sankirtan, And then, like, he was very adamant. So Indrajuna Maharaj thought, okay, anyway, I guess he can clean the van and do all these things. Anyway, we need a guy like that. So let's take Pig Pen out with us. And then he was chanting. And then, like, he didn't even have it all together to even go and get all his stuff. So all the devotees actually had to go and get his stuff, whatever little stuff he had. Kept it in the TSK. Devotees are so merciful. And they kept all his stuff in the traveling Sankirtan van, and they drove off. And then, like, they reached the spot. And the minute they reached the spot, Pig Pen immediately jumped out, took a handbag and filled it up with books. And all the devotees were freaking out. Pig Pen, no, don't do it. Like, you may pop us. You may get us, kicked out. You're wearing, devotee clothes. But anyway, they thought, by the time he goes, he'll probably get scared and come back anyway. So the devotees reached their Sankirtan spot, took some prasadam, they were having their, it's like part of the sampradaya, we do that also. we get there, they're taking prasadam nicely. And then one devotee is looking, he's like, wow, looks like Pig Pen distributed a book to that guy. No, that's not true. And then, like, they see, goes to someone else, go to a whole group of people. Again, he gives them the book, they give him money. And after like a very short period of time, he came back. And then his bag was completely empty. All the Pig Pen, what happened to all the books? You must have dumped them. So like, no. I distributed the books. And they look, and he showed them all the Lakshmi. He's like, wow. Pig Pen, they thought that he cracked the spot, What's the mantra, Pig Pen? What are you telling? He said, no, Prabhupada, I'm just telling them Prabhupada saved me. Prabhupada saved me. He was just going and telling everyone that Prabhupada saved me. And just by doing that, he became like one of the biggest book distributors. And then he got initiated by Srila Prabhupada. The name of Vaishnavananda, right? Vaishnavananda, I'm probably messing up the name. But something along those lines, Vaishnavananda. Anyway, he became a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Then started giving classes. Became a great preacher. All these things, simply by the mercy of the Vaishnavas. But when you cut yourself off of the mercy of the Vaishnavas, and if you want to be with anyone else but devotees, then what hope do you have? What hope do you have? There is no hope. We have no hope but the exception of great devotees. Great devotees. What else do we have? This is the most important thing. And Vidura, he was charged with something abominable. He was struck with wonder. The unexpected. Because sometimes we cannot even conceive of how envious the non-devotees could be. How envious the non-devotees could be. We're doing our own thing, distributing books. Like, for example, we were in the Lansing Comic-Con, you and me, distributing Prabhupada's books. And then we went to that Comic-Con, we set up our table, and on our table, on purpose, we some devotees, like when they moved in, they had like a few boxes of Karmi, like Spider-Man magazines and like all this other like comics, whatever. I don't even know what that is, Huh? So basically, when we moved, when the devotees moved into a new property, there was a box filled with like Karmi comics, Spider-Man, Batman, I don't know the other guys, whatever, Iron Man, whatever. So they had those comics, and they said, Prabhuji, we want to throw these away. I said, actually, you know what? Don't throw them away, because we could use it. It helps us with our, So then we went there, and we set up the table, and we spread out all these magazines on the table, and we had some of Prabhupada's books also, So they were coming, we were selling Prabhupada's books, And then after some time, of course, they came around, and like, they were looking at us. And then, one of them came, and, one of the guys on the lower rungs came and said, these books, right, are they about like, are they religious? Are they like books on Krishna? And I said, you mean, and then I showed him the magazine, I showed him this one. I said, no, man, this Spider-Man. I said, no, not these books, but those books. We have a problem with you selling those books, not these. If you were selling these, we would have no problem with you. but you're selling those. And that's what we actually have a problem with. I said, really? These are all comics, in India, some Indians consider Krishna like a Indian superhero, and then we just got bought over by another company, and this is like just an old inventory. We're trying to get rid of it, and so we thought we thought we want to get like both kind of comics, the Eastern and the Western, and we were trying to do that whole thing with them, and then the guys wouldn't have it. For the sin of distributing Prabhupada's books, they came and the guy made up like a big story as to, you are tormenting my employees. 5 of them came crying to me. I'm like, oh really? They came crying to you because someone showed him a book and he gave him $15 for it. Your employees came, and then when they have to pop us, right? They get like 15, 20 guys who and they call the cops and they make a big scene. Like, dude, do you really have to make such a big scene? You have to make such a big scene just because you're selling Prabhupada's book. But that's how envious non-devotees are. They're envious to the core. They hate Krishna. No, not that one. That was another one. They're all in the same parampara. This was in Lansing, Michigan. I told him, sir, can you at least give us another chance? Like, if we don't know what the problem, can you give us another chance? Please consider. So you know what? I'll talk to my people. He went there and obviously didn't give a fig. He just said, I'm going to kick these guys out at all costs. I'm going to kick these guys out anyway. And he came back. I told him, sir, we drove all the way from Atlanta to Michigan just for this. Can you please let this one go? All right, we won't come to your next. At least let this one go. No. And then they made us freaking, remember what an effort it was to go out the other way? They made it as difficult as possible for us to leave. You kick us out and then you make it as difficult as possible for us to move. And then when they saw a Ram truck, their envy only increased. These freaking demons, such demons. So envious of Krishna, so envious of Krishna. We can't understand how envious they are of Krishna. Duryodhana is so envious of Krishna. So why do you want to kill the Pandavas? Why? There's literally no fault. You want to kill a faultless person. Why did the demons want to kill Jesus? Why? What fault was there in him? What fault was there in Duryodhana? What fault was not there in Duryodhana? What fault was there in the Pandavas? What fault was there in Vidura? But sense gratification makes you mad. Sense gratification makes you mad. The desire to enjoy separately from Krishna makes you mad. That is why Duryodhana is suffering. That is why Duryodhana is performing all the mistakes that he's doing, because he wants to enjoy separately from Krishna. That's the root disease of all living entities. They want to enjoy separately from Krishna. And when you want to enjoy separately from Krishna, nikatasa mayatare jhapadiyadare. She will whack you. Big time. Big time. Duryodhana got whacked by Krishna directly. Big time. Krishna bahirmukha hoya bhoga vanchakare nikatasa mayatare jhapatiyadare. Maya slapped him. Krishna slapped him. What to speak of Maya? Krishna really, Bhima destroyed him. And while the entire the war was happening on the 18th day of the battle, literally there were only, at a certain point of time, there was literally Duryodhana, Shakuni, Ashwatthama, Kripacharya, and who was the fourth one? There were the 4 people who survived. Actually, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I said 5. They survived. And then when Shakuni got killed, Duryodhana was thinking of all the instructions Vidura gave him. He was thinking, why did I not listen to Vidura? Had I listened to Vidura, all this thing would not have happened. Had I listened to Vidura, all this would not have happened. He was regretting. Too little, too late. You made your bed, now sleep in it. Too little, too late. When everything was destroyed. At least when Bhishma was slain by Arjuna. When Bhishma was lying on his bed of arrows, he tells him, see, there's no archer in the world who can compare to Arjuna. What to speak of Krishna? And the Kauravas was in the greatest lamentation, thinking, we couldn't protect our finest fighter. What is wrong with us? We couldn't protect him. What is wrong with us? And they were everyone on the Pandavas and the Kauravas side. While Arjuna was shooting his arrows at Bhishma, Hot tears were trickling down his eyes. He was thinking how as a kid, as a baby, as a small boy, I would sometimes climb onto Bhishma's, fine white cloth, and I would completely soil it. Kids playing in the soil, playing in the grass, whatever. And he would completely soil Bhishma's clothes, and he would get onto Bhishma's lap, and he would call him father, father. And Bhishma would tell him, I'm not your father, I'm your father's father. Bhishma would tell him that. Hot trickling tears were coming off of Arjuna's eyes, and while he was performing this task on Krishna's order. And then he's lying, Bhishma is lying on this bed of arrows. And then, Bhishma's head is hanging. And he told Arjuna, can you please fetch me a suitable pillow? So then, there's so many nice pillows, right? What's the best? Memory foam pillows. So many pillows are there. But Arjuna, what he did was he made a pillow, he shot a few arrows in such a way that like Bhishma's head could rest on it. He said, yes, now you fetch me a fine pillow. There's no finer pillow for a warrior than this. He said, Arjuna, I want to drink water. So then all these Kaurava people come, all the servants come and they get jars of cool water for Bhishma to drink. And then Bhishma says, no, I don't want this water. Only Arjuna can fetch me the water that I want. And then he says, is that Partha here? Is that great wielder of the Gandiva bow here? And then Arjuna comes with the Gandiva bow in his hand. What's your order? Just order me. And then immediately he says, I want water. Arjuna chants a particular mantra for the Varunastra and shoots it, next to Bhishma's head. And immediately pure water from the lower regions comes and enters into Bhishma's mouth. And then all the Kauravas, a gasp goes out, and he tells Duryodhana, there's no archer who can even compare to Arjuna, what to speak of when he's with Krishna. Take Arjuna has slain me. Bhishma. Arjuna is saying me. I've been defeated by Arjuna. Isn't this enough for you to realize that you're not going to win this war? Give it up. It's not too late. Give it up. When Dronacharya was killed, Kripa told him, they even killed Drona. Give it up. But no, Duryodhana would not give it up. When Karna was slain, even Duryodhana, he has all his hopes on Karna. That okay, Karna is going to kill Arjuna. Ever since he met Karna, that was his only hope. It never dawned upon him that someday Karna could be killed. But even Karna died. Still, he couldn't do it. He fought down to the last man. He remembered Vidura's advice. I should have listened to Vidura. Man, I should have listened to Vidura. But it's easy. It's easy to make a show of, oh man, like this and like that. It's easy to make a show. But when advice is given, proper advice is given, you should take to it immediately. When good advice is given. The Vaishnavas are so kind that they don't just tell you once, twice, thrice, 10, 15, 100 times. So many times they'll tell you. But if you're too adamant to change and you push them away from your association, then what? Then what is our destiny? Nagati kutopi. If you are banished from the assembly of Vaishnavas, nagati kutopi, we will have no hope. That's why we should do everything possible to please the spiritual master and his representatives. Everything possible. I myself am such a bad example. Always giving, Vishnuchita Prabhu a hard time. But, somehow the Vaishnavas are so merciful. And they somehow keep you around. They somehow see some value in you. And they keep you around. They're very kind. They're very merciful. They keep you around somehow or the other. All right. You're really offensive. You're saying all these horrible things. The Vaishnavas don't take it personally. Say, all right, whatever. But then Krishna takes it personally. And when Krishna takes it personally, it's not good. You really don't want to get on the bad side of Krishna. Because when Krishna wants to mess you up, he'll really mess you up. Really bad. Really bad, It's not a good thing to do. Therefore, we should not be like Duryodhana and not take good advice and cancel the good advice. You may not be in a position to cancel good advice by throwing people out of your association. But you can cancel the advice in your head. You can cancel the counsel in your head. Cancel the instructions in your head. You can just like, hey, I'm just not going to listen anymore. Let me do the bare minimum. I'll do the bare minimum and I'll be fine. Oh, yes, I feel so bad. You're completely right. Everything you say is completely right. And the next thing you know, you go back to being a rat again. The Vaishnavas are so merciful. They perform all these austerities to pull someone out of the trash can. Literally pulling someone out of the trash can. But we're so unfortunate. After receiving the nice instructions of the Vaishnavas, we don't take it. We throw it away. We actually say, I don't like all this. I don't like it. I'll be fine. I was offering my food before I came while drinking alcohol and smoking weed. And such a nice thing. I was already offering. And like this, reject the association of Vaishnavas. Try to exploit the devotees. Exploit it. What does Narottam Das Thakur say about these such people? So many things. What does he say? From Prabhupada's favorite. That's there. Say Pashu Boro Duracha. I think Janiya Suniya Bhisha Koinu. Knowingly drinking poison. Knowingly drinking poison. So we should not be Janiya Suniya Bhisha Koinu. Should not be a manipulative rascal who tries to come and manipulate as much as possible. Manipulate everyone. Manipulate Prabhupada disciples if we can. Manipulate this person. Manipulate all the time looking very innocent. Doing some drama. If we distribute books. So try your best if you can. Don't try to manipulate. Become humble. Either you become humble or you become humbled. Better not to become humbled. Trying to manipulate, doing this, doing that. Don't be like Duryodhana. Duryodhana tried his best to manipulate to such a degree. He threw Vidura out. He threw Vidura out. The greatest advisor against his propaganda, he threw him out. Ravana did the same thing. So we can see some people, they become so offensive to the Vaishnavas that they can live close by, but they can't come to the association of the devotees. How unfortunate. Why does all this? Because of an offensive attitude, offensive behavior. Many people say, I feel so bad. And why don't you follow the fate of the people you offended? Why not? If Duryodhana were to have fallen at the feet of Yudhishthira, would he not have accepted? Ajata Shatru. Actually, Yudhishthira already forgave him for so many of the wrongs that he'd done. Say, you know what? All right, you don't want to give the kingdom. Give us 5 villages. At least give us 5 villages, whatever. My brothers will listen to me. Just give us 5 villages. He said, I won't even give you enough land to put a pin in it, put a needle in it. What can be done? They have to be punished at this point. So, this is our unfortunate position. That we are in this material world, somehow or the other, Brahmanda Brahmate Kona Bhagyavan Jeev. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. That we are wandering from universe to universe, one place to another, chasing after material sense gratification. But somehow or the other, we come in, Krishna gives us a bona fide spiritual master who gives us good association. But then, when we come into the good association, if instead of taking that association, we start to criticize the best gift that Krishna has given us, then we are doomed. No one is asking anyone to be blind or anything. Use your intelligence. Things are spoken very plainly, especially over here. But, one should not be overly envious or overly critical for no reason. So we should be careful. It's a great opportunity for us to go back home, back to Godhead. But if we become like Duryodhana and try to banish all good association, then we'll have no hope. Our acharyas, they explain to us the moon. Majjan manaf palamidam madhukaita bare Tvat prataniya madanugraha esha eva Tvat bhritya paricharaka bhrityasya bhritya iti mam smanalokanatha. That they pray that I'll consider my human form of life successful. Majjanmana palamidam madhu kaitaba. My dear Lord, the killer of Madhu and Kaitaba. Mat prarthaniya madanugraha esha eva. I only have one prayer, one prayer. Tvad bhritya bhritya paricharaka bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya iti mam smaralokanatha. Then please give me the benediction that I can be the servant of 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 your servant. Please give me this benediction. So this is the mood. This is the mood that should try to be the servants of the devotees. Somehow or the other, it may not mean servants does not mean that like everyone tries to watch everyone else's copings or something like that. That every devotee has their service and you perform that service properly. You perform that service for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And it's the more we do it, the more selfless we become. Actually, in our service, we become very selfless in our service, and we should try to do it. Yesterday we were asking Maharaj. We have the good fortune of meeting with him personally. Fruits of all our austerity, fruits of all our anukula habe vidhi, sepade hoibe siddhi, nirakibo edui nayane. So Maharaj was telling him, Maharaj, somehow the other, we have, somehow the other, we're having these high standards and we're doing this and doing that. We're asking him some other question about deity worship or something. He said, you have such standards. He was telling this to Vishnu Chaitanya Prabhu. You have such high standards because I inculcated those standards in you. And therefore you are able to implement it. So Maharaj is saying, I inculcated these good qualities. Inculcated these in you. And so many people can also be brought up to a higher level provided they're willing to take guidance. Provided they're willing to take guidance. So this is the thing that every devotee, every disciple should feel. Yogyate vichare kichu nahi pai, tomara karuna sar, karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya, pranana rakiboar. Every disciple should feel like that. If you examine me, you'll find no good qualities. Yogyate vichare kichu nahi pai, tomara karuna sar, karuna na hoile kandiya kandiya, pranana rakiboar. If you don't give me your mercy, I'll weep and give up my body. I will lose my life. And Maharaj was saying he wants to meet all the Sankirtan men. We're going to figure out a good time for that. The most cherished conversations of all times. But we realize and we see, if we were to think, oh yeah, we're like further freaking stuff out here, man. We're just reading all these books and all these things. If we were to think like that, if we were to be in illusion of thinking, I am the best book distributor in the world. If we were to be in such illusion, we'll be doomed. Because I was really examining and thinking, there's no way, if I were to examine myself, no way I could have distributed even a single book. There's no way. It's impossible. I just cannot see it happen. How can someone with so many faults and all that do it? Therefore, I didn't do it. He did it. And it's amazing. Even that day that we were in New Jersey, you were shaving my head, and we were listening to that conversation we had with Maharaj. Just the stuff that he said, we were just so fired up. It was so amazing. Why? Because the spiritual master breathes life into the disciples. Prana chetan se hetu prachar. People like Vidura, no matter how stubborn we are, stubborn, obstinate we may be, the spiritual master is so patient. My Guru Maharaj was telling us yesterday that Srila Prabhupada was so patient. His preaching in San Francisco, his preaching in New York, he's so patient. Prabhupada said the place darkest of the dark, San Francisco. Prabhupada spent so much time in San Francisco. After New York, he spent, I think, the most amount of time in America in San Francisco. Haight-Ashbury. Prabhupada spent so much time there. And he was saying that most of those people who were coming to Prabhupada were so crazy. They were so crazy that some of his godbrothers would not want to speak of dealing with them. They would run away from him. Run away from such people. But Prabhupada preached to them, got them up. What did Prabhupada do? So, Prabhupada wanted to make such hippies and such degraded people into brahmanas. And even Allen Ginsberg said, Swamiji, come on, that's not a good idea. Making hippies into brahmanas. But he did it. Prabhupada did it. That's why if all else fails, just come and just somehow just stay in the association of the Vaishnava. Just like just be. Ramanujacharya says, even if you're completely useless and you can't do anything at all whatsoever, if you can't do anything, just go and sit with the Vaishnavas. You just sit with them, Just be with them, just sit with the Vaishnavas, and they'll somehow make some use of you. Yesterday somehow there was this guy like blowing leaves or whatever, what he was doing. Blowing leaves and the neighbors sing. And then somehow the other, I don't know, Ram, did you talk to the guy? Did you ask him to blow the thing in the parking lot? It looked like your disciple Bhav. So there's Ram's bhaktas, And one of Ram's bhaktas, Ram said, come here, blow this, And the homie was just blowing it. He didn't know what to do. But, Prabhupada says, even if someone just moves a screw in Krishna's temple, Krishna will never forget. So Krishna will never forget. This guy just came and he's like, what? He completely moded out guy. He was so moded out. He was really, really moded out. I mean, imagine if you're doing your job at 8:15 at night. You're really moded out. He's doing it at 8:15 at night. I was thinking like, bro, the sun is about to set in 10 minutes, bro. What are you doing? But the guy said, he came and he did. Vaishnava's mercy on him. Krishna will never forget. Krishna will never forget. So that's the amazing nature, the amazing nature of association with the Vaishnava. You just somehow the other come in, somehow the other, come into the association of the devotees. Somehow, they do it. Somehow the other. I was just saying, like, what are the chances we're still around? It's not like we're some great people and like deserving of the worship. I deserve to be worshipped. Who are we? Who are we? What are we? Guru Kripa Hi Kevalam. That's the proper use of that language. Proper use of that. Many Bengali, Guru Kripa Hi Kevalam. Everything is Guru's mercy. I'll eat fish. I'll sin like anything. Some upper sampradayas, they just keep deity of Guru. Guru Kripa Hi Kevalam. You only need Guru. Then Guru becomes Krishna. Guru becomes everything. Then Sai Baba becomes everyone. We had that experience in New Jersey one time. One Mataji was fired up about Prabhupada's books, Oh, I always wanted the Bhagavatam. And she made like a big show. And like everyone who makes a big show of always wanting the Bhagavatam, even she didn't buy it. So, this is the Bhagavatam. I've been wanting the Bhagavatam. I've been chanting 16 rounds for so long. Oh, and she started making a big scene and said, Mataji, can you buy the Bhagavatam? Actually, no. Then why do you make a big scene, freaking people? They always do this big show. Like, my God, stop it, bro. At least she said, actually, I love Krishna. I love what Prabhupada. Everyone should worship Krishna and all this. And then I asked her, why the hell are you worshipping Sai Baba? She said, for me, Sai only is my Krishna. Sai only is my Prabhupada. Sai, like, dude, shut up before I cut your tongue. Stop. Stop, You speaking people. For me, Sai only, same thing, like, oh, Guru Kripa Hi Kevalam. Like, is Sai Baba Guru or God? Both. He's both. Because Krishna also says, what's that? Sarva Deva Maya. No, sorry, not that. Krishna says, what's that? He's the spiritual master of the whole. No, bro. Krishna Mande Jagat Guru. Anyway, in the Shah, Krishna Mande Jagat Guru. So Krishna also is saying he's Guru, so my Guru is Krishna. So this kind of insanity, it's kind of craziness. Guru Kripa Hi Kevalam. These people say, but the right understanding of Guru Kripa Hi Kevalam is that honestly, if Guru wasn't the mediator between us and Krishna, we would not be here. If the Vaishnavas weren't mediating between, Maharaj, anyway, Maharaj, maybe, I accept this from fallen Mahotsaha Das, what's the problem? Somehow or the other, we got recommendation letter to get initiated. Somehow or the other, all these things happen. Somehow or the other, we got recommended by the Vaishnavas and this guy's not qualified. But anyway, all right. Okay, you're saying it. Therefore, I have faith in you. You should also take care of him. I was just thinking, oh, wow, somehow or the other. But at least after all that happened, we should not become a Duryodhana, become envious of the devotees, become offensive to the devotees. And then what ends up happening? Then you end up going to, after getting initiation, end up going to a bar in Miami or a bar in New York City or a bar in San Francisco or London or something like that, associating with karmis, performing illicit activities. Punar Mushiko Bhava. That's what happens. Be careful. If you're, seriously, Punar, and at least somehow, again, if by the mercy of the Vaishnavas we come back, we should not come back with our horns. Being all, I'm so qualified, No. We should not think like this. Puffed up rascals that we are, we should not think like this. And we should like come back with our tail between our legs. Come back and somehow fall at the lotus feet of those who we used to consider to be just so fallen, fallen fellow. I know more shlokas than you. Fool! You don't know this? Sounds like me, right? I know. But wait, is he talking about himself? Maybe. See, how is this guy still here? Anyway, sometimes, people have different personalities. But, especially, like we follow all of you guys freaking lower than me. Don't know this. I know. I went to college, so qualified. We think like this. We think like this, and what's that? I don't know that Maharaj was quoting something of George Washington that he who has a heart to love can also criticize. That's the thing. That like if you have no malice in your heart, then you have the right to criticize that person to bring him up. So anyway, I'm so bad with English shlokas, it's not even funny. But anyway, so like a person, if someone is really looking out for you, and that all right, like what's this guy gonna get by asking me to learn the shloka? That's my ego defending itself. But what's this guy gonna get? Okay, it's good for him. Okay, what kind of a Rupanuga are you? What are we gonna get? We should know these things. We never expected to know these things. But then if we go away and we come back and we're still condescending, then we'll go back to where we were. We'll go back to where we were. So therefore, we should at least not be condescending. We should not be like Duryodhana, condescending. I mean, Duryodhana got defeated so many times. Karna got defeated so many. The Pandavas saved the man's life. They saved the man's life, and he's still envious of him. Oh, it's different. That time was different. What about the time in Virata? That time was different. That time was different. Bhima sometimes, just as a joke, he would take all the Kaurava brothers, he would take all of them and hold all of them and go underwater until they would almost be running out of breath, and they'd be crying, Bhima, please get us out. And right before they're about to leave their body, he would bring them up and they would be, and Bhima would be laughing at them. He'd be laughing at them like anything. That's Bhima. Like, come on, Bhima is going to kill you all. Like, seriously, dude, you have no hope. Like in that, what's that verse, like the poison cake verse? Vishan Mahagne. Yeah, Visha. So he was fed the poison cake. Duryodhana himself, they all went to this royal palace of the Kauravas, and Duryodhana himself personally fed the poison cake to Bhima, thinking, Bhima, come sit next to me, Bhima. Eat this cake. And he was feeding the poison cake to him with so much love, And Bhima was so strong that the poison didn't even act on him, for the longest time. And they're all thinking, dude, did we keep poison in it or not? But then after some time, Bhima, is so they made sure all the Pandavas were away from him. And Bhima then finally, it hit him a little bit and he collapsed. So then they tied him up. And they threw him. But then some of the other Nagas came and they bit him, and that poison was the antidote. And then it somehow happens that the king of the Nagas, was actually human, and he was the great uncle of Madri. And then they give him this nectar. By drinking 1 cup of this nectar, you get the strength of 10,000 elephants. Then Bhima took one. He said, "Do you have more?" And they gave him more. He took Bhima, and then he came back out being so much more strong than ever. Come on, Duryodhana. Vidura, he was telling him in the previous, he's telling Dhritarashtra, you have Bhima, who's he's hissing like a serpent. He's going to come and kill you all. Stop. No. Nagati kutobi, janiya suniya bisha koino, asatire satya kori mani, se pashu boro durachar, vidya kule ki kori betar. What will happen? What will happen? We can keep on quoting like this. What will happen? Nagati kutopi. Therefore, we should be very, very careful. Oh my God, I promise. I really thought it was 8:40. So anyway, I'll end the class over here. If there's any questions or comments, we can take them now. Yes, Mitravan Prabhu.
have one thing. You were saying like people are like going away and coming back. So like one thing is that Prabhupada never rejected anybody.
Right.
And then another, even Prabhupada said that there are many rascals in our camps, and the rascals come and they don't give up their rascal habits. But the difference is within our camp, there's hope for them because they can reform themselves. If they go outside, there's no hope whatsoever. Therefore, even if somebody did something egregious, Prabhupada still never rejected him. People sold the temple, a devotee completely sold the temple, completely went away, still Prabhupada, he didn't reject him. Even Nitai, the most infamous one who Prabhupada, he rejected, actually.
Yeah.
Even Prabhupada said if he gives up his mentality, he comes back, we'll accept him.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada was always kind of like, that, because that understanding is there. And the second thing, this is kind of like a really obscure
Can I say
point.
something?
Yeah.
In this regard, that usually what ends up happening is they leave on their own.
Yeah.
The rascals, if they don't give the rascal mentality, they leave on their, because they become offensive to the devotees. And when they start committing offenses and start making like the lives of devotees really miserable, then they leave. They leave on their own accord, or they're asked to leave. For example, someone is asked to leave from here. One of the two people who was back, making the lives of the devotees hell, thrown out. And Maharaj himself says persona non grata. So that's also there, that we should we should be merciful, 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 merciful. If we know from the history of the Krishna consciousness movement, someone was, performing really abominable activities with men, not kids, with children also. But out of mercy, the devotees said, no, he should still be sannyasi, she should still be acharya, he should still do all these things. When he's still performing all these kind of activities. Not like he reformed himself. So that mercy also
It's both.
is applied. It's applied mercy. It's not sentimentally taken. Prabhupada never rejected anyone. So every this fellow, there was someone is there in New York. There was one Mataji trying her best to sleep with as many of the brahmacharis as possible in our ashram. Managed to do it with 3 of them. Should we keep such a person around? So like that was a consideration. And Krishna took her out anyway. So like that. That's applied. It's applied.
I would say it's both.
It's both.
It's like you can't go like one way or the other.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly.
If somebody
It's applied.
comes,
It's
not
balanced.
that the devotees should be like, make them like feel unwelcome or like,
Right.
they shouldn't be welcome in a temple. On the other hand, we have to keep standards up.
Exactly.
So somebody may be sincere even, but if they can't adhere to the standard, etc., like that. It's just like example of this Mataji. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
no
it's not that she can't become Krishna conscious.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
She may not do so well in an ashram situation or be allowed around brahmacharis, but
Yeah.
the second point is like more obscure, but I'll make this quick. Can you pull up this verse from Bhagavatam? It's 5:26:17. This is like something out of like left field, but you mentioned it, so I want to mention it. 5:26:17. Go to English because it's long.
Thank you.
So there's one verse, you were mentioning bed bugs. This came to my mind. There's a verse, it says, by the arrangement of the Lord, low-grade living entities like bugs like mosquitoes suck the blood. Bed bugs also suck blood. So they're saying, suck the blood of human beings and other animals. Such insignificant creatures are unaware that their bites are painful to the human being. However, first-class beings, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, are developed in consciousness, and therefore they know how painful it is to be killed. And like it goes on like this is like a long translation. It basically says, those who kill, they're put in a hell where they're bitten by such bugs and they can't sleep. So you were saying that they're envious like snake, but actually they're innocent. Those the bed bugs, they don't know what they're doing.
Bed bugs are innocent.
Yeah,
Snakes
mosquitoes also.
Snakes are envious.
The snakes are envious. Yeah,
Okay,
they're
okay.
envious.
Wow.
Scorpions.
Bed bugs ain't that. So at least, wow, okay. He still lost his mind. Okay. Anything else? Yes, Avadut. Chandra Prabhu.
Prabhu, I think I found this American shloka.
Let's hear it.
I guess it's Abe Lincoln.
Yeah.
You can let me know if it is the
the English shloka.
Guru Maharaj said, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right.
Yeah, something like that. I think
No,
so.
Malice towards none. It was a speech given by Abe Lincoln, I guess.
Nice. Anything else? Mataji's? Yes, like a Shanti Mataji.
So, I have one thing. Since you guys are talking about the snake again, it reminds me of I believe it was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada had seen Bhaktisiddhanta killing the snake, and at first he was kind of like, confused, why a Vaishnava would do such a thing. And then I think it was like recounted that he later read in Shastra, like, that a saintly person would see a snake killed as well. And so it makes sense that in the end, Duryodhana had to die.
He didn't see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur kill a snake. He was, Prabhupada was in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's presence, and the Matvasis informed Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that there's a snake in the mud. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, better have it, you kill it. And then Prabhupada was wondering, how can a saintly person, how can he order for a snake to be killed? And then he read in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, he said that even a saintly person is happy if a snake or a scorpion is killed.
Thank you for clarifying.
Anything else?
And then my question is, so if we receive like differing advice from seniors, how do we practice discernment without trying to reject?
Better not to cherry pick. Usually what ends up happening is we go to one senior and we take half their advice, and we go to another senior, we take the other half of their advice. We go to another person, take half their advice, and we put it all together and we say, I'm following authority. So usually we try to see who is in line with Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and Aitihya, and we follow them fully. Surrender means, surrendering fully. So many people may give so much advice. What's their standing? What's their understanding? We should see all these things. Is that okay? Anything else? All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo cha. Paitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo.